Well, I was wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Your start against the Dodgers was primo, and the start tonight, to me, you sealed the deal. I don't have a vote, but if I did, you're my vote for NL Cy Young Award winner.
Welcome everybody back to the Touching Bases podcast. A little bit of an emergency podcast. I've been off due to doing a fantasy draft, and then also got to do softball practice because it's starting to get in that season for the kid. Got to do the daddy duties. Anyways, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, check out the other videos and like the video later. If you do not like the video, leave a comment below. Let's talk about it. Turns out if you dislike it, it really hurts my views, so don't do that. Thanks. Blake Snell has officially signed with a team, and no, it is not the Astros, which I thought might actually happen, and I'm a little bit relieved, although I'm not relieved because it's just the rivals of my other favorite team, so I'm a bit in a kerfuffle. Remember that word? Yeah, I brought it back. The Giants, the San Francisco Giants, have signed a 2-year deal with Snell going up to $62 million. Now, this figure is very specific and interesting, along with how he's getting paid is very interesting, and then also there's a lot of factors that people should be looking out for as we look at his past and his future and whether or not he is worth paying attention to in 2024. Coming off a Cy Young Award winning season in 2023, seems like he should be the biggest name in baseball as far as pitching. Now let's get into the nice goody goods, because we are going to talk about the Giants, who continue to sign players with big names no matter how good they are or how bad they are. Bob Melvin, the former manager of the Padres, this year decided to sign with another team that happened to be the Giants, is a 3-time Manager of the Year award winner. He also was a manager of the Mariners for a little bit, where they had some pretty good seasons as well. He's now coming over to the Giants to take over and basically try to bring the Giants, I guess, to the World Series again. And the ownership and front office is looking at basically picking up anybody with a major name to fill the slots. People like adding the, now I guess you can call rookie, but the star player of Korea, Jung-Ho Lee, which I was saying wrong. I was saying Young. Nope, it's Jung-Ho Lee, just so you guys know. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. He signed a 6-year, $113 million contract in December, and they also picked up Jorge Soler, which is another huge bat that came over from Miami. I believe he had 36 home runs last year, and they signed him to a 3-year deal for $42 million. In my opinion, that's kind of a steal for his big bat, and especially being a right-handed batter, I think he can keep the long ball going, especially in the Giants Stadium. On top of that, on March 1st, they picked up Matt Chapman, another big name that they're trying to basically draw people in to see them as fan favorites, signing all these star players. Matt Chapman's batting average last season was around a .230, which was pretty horrible for being a star player, but he's now over in San Francisco playing for the Giants officially now as their starting third baseman, where they kicked out JD Davis, who also just signed with the Oakland Athletics or Las Vegas Athletics. I stopped paying attention to that stuff because there's so much garbage coming out. So whatever their names are, the Athletics, he signed with them and is going to be their starting third baseman, who I think is going to perform really well over there. I don't know why they signed Matt Chapman, considering JD Davis was, as far as the batting wise, I would say better. And then they also already have Wilmer Flores, who could play third base and first base and the outfield, and he hit a .265, I believe, last season, and that's significantly better than Matt Chapman. But I guess they feel like they needed to have a Gold Glove defensive asset out there at third. I don't know if the Giants have a hot corner over there. If that's the case and everybody hits it to third, then more power to them. But to me, it just seemed like a flex to show they're still contenders in the NL West, which is built right now. Built. So you have the Dodgers, you have the Padres just picking up Cease, and you have the Giants buying every single star late into the offseason. Chapman was picked up for $54 million for a 3-year deal with 2 opt-outs, and this was only about 18 days ago. So it's been pretty recent that the Giants have been hot in picking up players, and now they've officially signed Snell. So Snell's situation is very interesting because the whole Boris thing, I think everybody's been laughing at him and seeing him how he has lost. Initially, he was asking for I believe it was like $300 million or something like that to be signed with somewhere, and that went out the door. And then it came down to $150 million, and then it dropped even more. And per Bob Nightingale's reporting, Giants signed Blake Snell to technically They're paying him for this season $15 million guaranteed, with a $17 million signing bonus in January of 2026. So he gets a bonus at the end of the contract no matter what, but up front he's only getting $15 million, which he was demanding $30 million to every other team that was out there. On top of that, the Yankees were the ones right before the Astros talking about signing him. They made him an offer and then they later retracted, as they offered him $150 million last month, but they pulled their offer and then never re-entered discussion. I don't know why they did that. I don't know. I figured that they were good to go. Then Garrett Cole went down and I figured they would be jumping back on the bandwagon, but they didn't. They said, nope, we're good. We're going to stick with what we got. We have faith that Cole's going to be back. We don't need to spend any more money and have that big of a luxury tax. Now, the Astros in New York declined to go over $30 million, but in this contract, I guess you can say that Snell did get kind of a win. I guess Boris won by technically getting $31 million out of this contract, but there's also a player option in 2025 to where he can leave and take off if he doesn't want to stick around. I believe the team also has that option, and that's where things get a little dicey for Snell and whether or not this was a good move. But at the same time, they waited too long. They should have accepted a better offer earlier and maybe gone with the Yankees in this case. In 2025, for that player option, he will get a full $30 million, but he won't get that signing bonus until January 2026. So technically before, in these next 2 years, not counting January 26, he's only going to be making $45 million instead of his 60. But of course, that signing bonus is obviously going to come at a later date. It helps the Giants so they can sign somebody else maybe next year or something like that. If there is a player option where someone else can take over the contract or he gets traded, I don't know how that would work out. There's too many factors to even start digging into that. But given the whole thing, it's not the 6-year contract, the 10-year contract that Blake Snell was looking for. This is his second year this last season winning the Cy Young Award, and he hasn't been able to secure that long-term contract to stick with a team to call his home and continue playing. He's had too many ups and downs, and there's a lot of factors that play into that, whether it's where you live, whether it's the ballpark itself, whether it's you're injury prone or you're not injury prone. And for Snell, he hasn't really been injury prone, but his numbers have been up and down. If I were to go over to Fangraphs and check out his years, in 2016, his rookie season, he threw a 3.5 ERA. He averaged about 9 Ks per 9 innings. He won 6 games and lost 8. He started in 19. He only pitched 89 games that season. 2017 was more of his, I would say, starting career as a starting pitcher, where he pitched 129 innings, had a 5-7 record, threw a 4.04 ERA, and his Ks per 9 went down by 1 to an 8.28. And then out of nowhere, he emerged to have an amazing season. This is playing for the Rays. The Rays stadium, it gets a 96 rating for the park factor, which is very, very, very low for batters. It's not a good place for batters to go. It's hard to hit home runs, it's hard to get on base, hard to do anything. It's great for pitchers. So he played in the 4th best stadium with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2018, where he won his Cy Young Award for pitchers, and he threw an ERA of 1.89, and that's in 31 games started, went 21-5, had 11 Ks per 9, and he only walked 3 batters per 9. 180 innings, and his left on base percentage was 88. This is like the premier level of Cy Young if anybody's ever seen it. This was incredible what he did in 2018, and I wish we could see that again, and last year was not even close to that. Still played for the Tampa Bay Rays from 2019 and 2020, and that's where he pitched a 4.29 in 2019 and a 3.24. You're seeing the ups and downs. So he went from a 3.54 to a 5.04, all the way down to a 1.89, back up to a 4.29, which is the worst he's ever pitched in MLB, which is his 4th year in, just after a Cy Young Award winning season in 2018. And then he drops down to a 3.24, so that sounds pretty good. 3.24, that's pretty competitive. That's what they would expect him as a pitcher. His contract's ending. You know how the Rays work. They don't want to extend. They don't want to pay him the big bucks. They had him as a rookie. They got to trade him. So they trade him, and he goes to San Diego. In 2021, Snell went 7-6 with out of 27 games started and only 128 innings pitched. He threw a 4.20 ERA. This is not the player that they were looking for adding to their rotations. In 2022, where he did a little bit better and he threw a 3.38 ERA, starting to look back again. But again, he started at 3.24, 2021, 420, 2022, 338, and then last season where he won the Cy Young once again through a 2.25 ERA, 11 Ks per 9, 11.7 Ks per 9 to be specific, and his left on base percentage was very similar to this 2018 year Cy Young award winning. And instead of 88% of the time leaving batters on base, he left runners on base 86.7% of the time. Very much on par with what he did, a little bit higher average, 2.25 versus 1.89, but he bumped his WAR all the way up to a 4.1. So if we're looking at this new future season, and keep in mind that he played in San Diego. San Diego is the second best ballpark you can play at as a pitcher. Emphasize this a lot, and I even emphasize this in my Dylan Cease video about how much better he's going to perform versus Chicago White Sox. He's going to probably perform better in San Diego because of that park factor. San Diego being the second best ballpark, let me emphasize that again, to pitch, and he won a Cy Young. And he did it worse than the number 4 park for pitchers. So where is he going now? He's going to San Francisco, and San Francisco is a lot farther up. Now, I'm not going to say the Giants Stadium is a hitter's ballpark by any means, but it is the 9th best ballpark for pitchers to play at. He's now going to San Francisco and Oracle Park, which is the number 9 pitchers ballpark in the MLB. Now, this is not the number 2. This is not the number 4. This is the number 9th. How much of a difference is that going to make? Honestly, I can't tell you. We're going to find that out. But it is definitely not as easy of a ballpark to pitch at as it is in the last 2 previous teams he played for. He's got an option, so luckily he can play this season. If things don't work out, he can find another team to play for. He still wants to play for the Seattle Mariners, which would be amazing for him because that is the best number 1 ballpark for pitchers. And now that we have such an elite pitching staff, it should show in 2024. But this is definitely a harder ballpark for him to go to and start performing. And as of last time, given the data that we do have and the experience that we do have, Snell coming off an Cy Young award-winning season is normally not good. Last time, like I said, he went from a 1.89 ERA winning the Cy Young in 2018 to 2019 throwing a 4.29 ERA, which is still to this day the worst ERA he's thrown for an entire season. Now, projections are saying he's going to pitch probably around 164, 167 innings. That's probably just a median average since you're putting all these years together, but they're also expecting him to throw between a 3.5 and a 4.0 ERA, nowhere near the Cy Young levels. So why does any of this matter? It really doesn't, but it's information for you to make a judgment of whether or not this was a good idea for him to sign, or if it was just for him to simply take a contract because nobody else was offering it for him. Astros backed out. They said, no, we're not paying you that much. The Yankees says, no, we don't need you. It's not that important. And we lost our biggest ace and we're still fine without you. The Giants said, hey, we'll pay you what you want by $1 million. Come play with us, but we're not going to pay you a quarter of your amount until 2026. Yen, and I guess it's close to Seattle, so I guess that works. But man, I would not want to be living in San Francisco, to be honest with you. And I said that on my last video. No offense to San Francisco Giants fans. What does that mean for the Giants? Well, instead of focusing on Blake Snell, let's look at the rotation and see where they're at as far as their lineup, as far as where they contend in the National League West, what this is going to mean halfway through the season, because I think that's where this is key. So the Giants' current starting rotation going into opening day is looking like Logan Webb as their ace, Blake Snell as their number 2, Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, and then Keaton Wynn. Keaton Wynn, I mean, good fill-in for the meantime until the All-Star break or whenever Robbie Ray is going to come back, or Alex Cobb. Jordan Hicks has a really strong arm. I think he's good in the 4 position. I think he's going to stay there for the most part, and Kyle Harrison might be bumped down to the 5th depending on which pitcher comes back from their injury. This is going to probably be the best pitching staff in baseball when Robbie Ray comes back, if he can perform, because he has been gone for so long, and honestly, we haven't seen him really perform elite since 2022, but even then was only partial season when he got injured, and before that was with the Blue Jays. So I can see him as filling as a number 4 slot just because I see Blake Snell staying where he's at, Logan Webb staying the ace, Alex Cobb going the number 3, and then Keaton Wynn probably getting knocked down to the AAA or traded for some other reason. But this would be a very elite low 3s ERA, high innings pitched throughout the season, high strikeouts up to close to the 200s with all of them come the All-Star break. But this is also down the road. In the meantime, I don't know if the Giants are going to be able to win the games that they need to give themselves a number 1 seed after the All-Star break. This is kind of a big thing. I don't know if their pitching is going to be good enough to hold them back to the amount of runs that they're going to be able to put up offensively. Do I trust this lineup to be able to win enough games to make them a competitive organization in the NL West against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks and even now the Padres? I don't know, because we also don't know if Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray are going to be pitching the same way that they always have in the past before their injuries and their surgeries. We just don't know. So let me know down in the comments, do you think Blake Snell signing to the Giants was a good idea or bad idea? Fed you a little bit of information. If it changed your mind, let me know. If it didn't, go ahead and yell at me. If you're a Giants fan, no offense, you know, I like Padres and Diamondbacks. It is what it is. But I do think you have a star-studded team. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to pull it together just because time is against you. Your pitching staff is elite after the All-Star break. Your batting, pretty mediocre, but you have good defense. Let me know, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.